Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. Today's topic, which is shown here on the shared screen, is the Opportunity Fund. But in fact, we're launching today on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, the 2.0 version of the Opportunity Fund. So let's go through that and then see what questions you have. We're going to start with highlights. The design of the Opportunity Fund is to allow participants to receive $1,000 deposits deposited daily into their business checking account. Let's stop there for a second. And of course, $1,000 a day is a good side gig income, but ignoring just the money part. Why is this important? Well, as we've talked about in other trainings, especially if someone is a small business owner and they're wanting to position their business for a larger capital raise, to no surprise, lenders are going to look at the financial credibility of the business. And so when we have more cash flow, without doubt, we have more borrowing capacity because lenders can feel more confident that larger debt payments can be afforded. They can be repaid. So the $1,000 daily deposits, again, that's real cash money going in, and the participant of the Opportunity Fund can use that money however they want. But above and beyond that obvious factor, we don't want to overlook that having documented increased cash flow will in fact improve the business's access to more funding. Secondly, a stronger bank rating, and a lot of you are familiar with this, but bank ratings are calculated, simply put, based upon the average daily balance in the business bank account over the past 90 days. Again, it's not unusual to see small businesses, sometimes startup, early stage, sometimes not, come to us, but they don't look strong. They're running on fumes. Their bank ratings are very low. Well, again, these are some of the factors that lenders look at in determining how much money to loan an applicant. So in addition to the cash coming into the business, we're able to document that on our bank statements, which is going to increase our borrowing capacity. And we're going to want to maintain a little bit of a larger average daily balance so we have a stronger bank rating. And of course, that's only possible if we have enough cash flow coming through, which we're going to provide through the Opportunity Fund. The third sub-bullet here are improved financials. So in addition to the bank statements, which we made reference to, now we're talking about the balance sheet and the income statement, also called profit and loss. So the balance sheet shows assets and liabilities. Well, cash and accounts receivable are two types of assets that we help with that make the business look stronger on paper so they can qualify for more funding. And then from the P&L or income statement side, it comes back to having those increased cash flows makes the business look vibrant and solvent versus illiquid and insolvent. So tremendous value here through the Opportunity Fund. Let's continue on. Participants in the Opportunity Fund 2.0, they are not salespeople. They are not asked to sell anything to anyone to receive the $1,000 daily deposit. It is not a sales position. It's a financial literacy position. And we'll talk more in detail about that as we go along today. What's nice is this money that's coming in through the Opportunity Fund 2.0 does not have to be paid back. It's not debt. There's no interest attached to it. There's no repayment terms. It's what we call earned income through the Opportunity Fund. And that's tremendous. How much earned income will depend upon the participant, But ideally, we'll do the daily deposits each day. So around 30,000 a month would be the goal. But it's up to the participant. If they want more, we can do more. If they want less, they can do less. Certainly, we knew when we developed the Opportunity Fund originally, and now with the revision of 2.0, that it needed to have very good flexibility. People are busy, right? They have maybe work and family, maybe other business interests. And so that is a key attribute, a key highlight of the Opportunity Fund 2.0 is its very little time requirement with complete scheduling flexibility. One thing that I'm really proud of is as we're out educating, of course, not selling, but as we're out educating, we are focused on 100% client satisfaction. Now, for participants in the Opportunity Fund 2.0, they don't have to service anyone anyway. They're not a client service representative, but we can feel good as we're out educating. And again, we'll go through what we're going to educate on here in a moment, that we will have 100% client satisfaction. And of course, there's no cost to participate in the Opportunity Fund. Okay, so those are the highlights. Let's dig a little bit deeper and let's look at the background now. So the Opportunity Fund is an economic empowerment program. It's designed to assist small businesses who need an immediate stream of income for those reasons we talked about, right? Small businesses that look insolvent, that don't have liquidity, that don't have assets are not very well positioned for large capital raises. That's typically the biggest conflict we see, not conflict that we're engaged in, but the biggest disconnect. Entrepreneurs, early stage small business, they want lots and lots of money. Wow. If we're not able to show that we can afford it from a cash flow, can't show that we're managing our bank properly, we can't show strong financials, that's quite the leap to say, I want to go get. We have one client that is looking for $1 billion. Gabrielle is her name. $1 billion. Well, she's currently homeless and she's working part-time in a Kohl's distribution center. But she came to us for $1 billion. Well, that's a true example, an extreme example. But what we have to realize is our ability for our businesses to borrow money is going to be based upon the business's credibility. So, economic empowerment program to assist small businesses who need immediate stream of income, typically $1,000 a day, per day of direct deposits into their business bank account. Furthermore, it is especially valuable for entrepreneurs who don't yet have borrowing capacity due to credit and or cash flow reasons. Because we know that when we look at the Opportunity Fund, it's not borrowed money. So we don't have to worry about, well, is my credit score good enough? Is my time in business good enough? None of that is a prerequisite. There aren't prerequisites to be able to go out and simply get paid to educate. To be a financial literacy educator, if you will. It's designed to be a hands up versus a handout approach. What you and I consistently see is a lot of people aren't where they need to be financially, but they don't want free money. They don't want gifts. They don't want charity. They just need to be positioned into an economic engine where they can accomplish their goals. And in many cases, individuals will have an idea, a dream, a vision of some business that maybe they've started or not yet started yet, but they don't yet have the capital to execute that. Well, that's what you and I do as technical advisors, is help them with that. But what happens if the amount of capital, like for Gabrielle, she needs $1 billion. She's not positioned for $1 billion yet. So this is a hands up versus a handout approach, helping them get prepared for their capital raise by injecting what? Earned cash flow, not debt. The Opportunity Fund is a financial literacy initiative built off the SCORE model. I used to be with SCORE. I think many of you used to be with SCORE. You can learn more about SCORE if you want, but SCORE is funded through the SBA and is a free resource to entrepreneurs on a number of topics. SCORE has been around for around 50 years, and we incorporated many of the SCORE elements into the Opportunity Fund. Okay, so we've covered the highlights, we've covered the background. Let's dig a little deeper into kind of where the rubber hits the road. So let's scroll down, and we're going to call that the position description. So in the position description, as a participant in the Opportunity Fund, and you can call yourself a financial literacy educator or whatever label that you want, but technically you're participating in the Opportunity Fund. What we do as participants in the Opportunity Fund is we educate. We don't sell. Do not sell. We educate small business owners about what? What are we going to educate on? We're very much focused on helping them understand what are the foundational elements needed to qualify for accessing capital. And we're going to introduce the grant subsidized startup business funding package. So that is what we're going to do. So let's discuss the training that we conduct. And so this can be with individuals or groups. It can be informal or formal. It can be in person or online. I was speaking to Oscar late yesterday, and he has a group, I believe this to be true, 14 or 15 small business owners that he's presenting to this evening, for example. So that's an illustration of working with a group, but it certainly could be much more informal, just talking to small businesses one-on-one. Well, what is it that we need to teach them? So if we're teaching, not selling, as part of the Opportunity Fund, what do we teach them? Well, here are the basic principles that we teach. We need to teach why having a unique business address is crucial for getting funding. So a lot of people don't know this. So they think, okay, I'll form a business and I'll use my home address, or I'll get a post office box, or I'll go get a shared virtual address, like with a Regis or a WeWork. Well, if we're trying to position the business to get a large capital raise to qualify, then we need to be cognizant of how credible the business is. And the initial, most fundamental element of business credibility is the address. So as we talked about before, we're not talking about where the person works from. They can work from the beach or from the cruise ship or from their home. It doesn't matter where they're working, but the business address itself needs to be a unique commercial address. And so we teach about that. Now, of course, we provide that also through the Startup Funding Business Package. But if you follow this approach, we educate. We don't need to sell anyone. We're going to teach them what's needed. And oh, by the way, our Startup Business Funding Package provides all of that. Okay, so that's the first learning objective, because a lot of people don't know that. How can you determine that? You can determine that any business that's a home-based business, again, not meaning where they work from, but where the business is registered, if they have a home-based address, they're failing this metric, and that is likely going to limit or impact their access to capital. Second learning objective is we need to teach why having established business credit is crucial. So again, we're teaching crucial elements. We're not just teaching, oh, it'd be nice to have. We're talking about if you and I were, I guess, at a high school teaching young entrepreneurs, okay, you're thinking about graduating high school and starting a business. What are the basics that you need to know? That's what you and I are teaching at the core, the most crucial basics that a business needs to know if they want to access capital. So why does this matter? Because we always want to describe what, but the why is huge, because they may not trust you, they may not believe you. So, the what is we need to have a unique business address. Why? Because it's deemed more credible. And in some cases, when the loans are established, there is a lien placed against the business assets. And lenders can't do that in many cases if the business address is residential or what we'll call a soft address versus a real address. Okay, so now on the what is it we're talking about? Hugely important to have established business credit. Why is that important? We're getting caught up now. So we're talking about the what and the why of each bullet. Why does that matter? Well, why does it matter? Because it's an illustration that that business entity has received and had access to extensions of credit and has managed that credit as promised. In other words, it's paid its bills on time, if you want to just dumb it down. And so we can reflect that by having, for instance, a good paydex score, Paydex. Paydex scores are assigned by Dun and Bradstreet, sometimes called D&B, and that's one of the gold measures of how credible a business is once it's been formed with a unique business address. Is, has it ever had extensions of credit, and how has it managed it? Well, you and I know that we do that for free in the Startup Business Package. But what we don't want to do is sell people. We want to teach them. And then when we bring it down to the close, then it's a very obvious decision. If they don't have these credibility elements in place, they probably should enroll, and most will. So, of course, what we're going to do is help them get at least an 80 Paydex score. Paydex scores go from 1 to 100. 80 or above is considered credible. Of course, the higher the score, the better, but we just need good enough, and 80 is typically good enough. Okay, so that's the second learning objective. Let's go to the third. We need participants to understand why having financials, meaning balance sheets and income statements, otherwise known as profit and loss, as we talked about earlier, those financials need to demonstrate liquidity, solvency, and that there's collateral. Those are crucial elements. Now, if you're starting to get overwhelmed saying, oh man, I got to go teach all this, we have it canned. We have the training on an on-demand YouTube video. So you could speak of it, or you could just use the on-demand video, by the way. You don't have to speak to the prospect at all if you don't want to. So again, why is this relevant? Well, it's just frankly somewhere between financial illiteracy or ignorance, just flat out ignorance, to think, oh, I can go get a real big business loan, but they don't really care if my business looks liquid or not, or if my business is solvent or not, or if my business has collateral or not. That's crazy talk, right? That's showing a complete disconnect between the underwriting for most types of business loans. These are key elements that lenders look at. Well, you and I know that we provide that through the Opportunity Fund, and we also help participants accomplish that through the Startup Business Funding Package. So you can see the theme. We're teaching basic concepts that are accurate and factual, and it just so happens that we'll be able to let them know at the end of the education session, we can help them with that very easily. All right, fourth learning objective is we need them to understand the difference between traditional lending and what we call tax-based sources of capital. The analogy I like to use that helps soften this up, and you've heard me talk about this before, is Tulsa, Oklahoma. I believe this still to be true. Maybe they've changed, but for a while, you could move to Tulsa, Oklahoma as an individual, and they would pay you $10,000 to move there. And there's some other cities and communities across the country that literally have what? They have tax-based sources of capital to accomplish certain goals. So that example, that analogy is you could move to Tulsa, the tax money, not bank money, tax money, they'll pay you $10,000 to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, there's also tax-based sources of capital to start and grow businesses that are typically much easier to get than jumping through underwriting for bank-based financing. And the Chapman Fund is one of those, right? Well, geographic access to the Chapman Fund is one of the elements of the Startup Business Package. But if people don't know that this is relevant or available, then they can't give it any credibility. So what you and I know is that anyone can get geographic access to the Chapman Fund through the Startup Business Funding Package. Now, granted, it only goes up to $250,000 to start or grow a business, but that's not a bad first tranche, right? So that's what we teach about here. And then lastly, we want them to know about the U.S. Startup Grant, which is what's funding our program, and how it will pay for the unique commercial address. So the participant doesn't have to worry, oh, I can't afford to go buy an office building or go sign a lease for a real office space. I can't afford it. No problem. Grant covers it. Oh, I can't afford, or I don't want to pay to file with the Secretary of State to have a true bona fide business using that address. No worries. Grant will cover it. Oh, I can't afford to go out and build business credit. There's companies that'll do this, but it costs a lot of money. No worries. Grant will cover that. No cost to the participant. And as I mentioned earlier, as a participant in the Opportunity Fund, you can teach individuals or small groups in person or online. But again, you're not selling them anything. We need to educate them, and then we just simply need to get them over to your landing page, which we provide for free. Now, we've got some free training resources that are available. There's information on the Startup Business Funding Package page. You'll have a replicated site that'll look just like this, but it'll have your own link. But certainly if you've not looked at this, you should. And then we have a training video. And the training video, quite frankly, is also on the Startup Business Funding Package page. So we in general just call this the partnership program. And so anyone that wants to participate in the Opportunity Fund 2.0 to receive $1,000 a day, to receive these benefits and help people with training on these topics, can do so very easily. Who has any questions, comments, concerns on the Opportunity Fund 2.0 in terms of why it exists, the benefits, the background, what it is that we specifically do? All right, Timothy's got the first question or observation. So Timothy's right. We're going to provide a free landing page. It's going to look just like this. And so ultimately, you can do as much or as little educating as you need to get them there, because once you have them to your landing page, there is a training video, this training video on your landing page. And so you could just create exposures and not talk to people, or you could talk to them, you could introduce, or you could fully educate across these topics as we just went through. It's entirely up to you. But Timothy's exactly right. The end goal is to get them to your free landing page so they can make a decision if they would like to enroll in the Startup Business Funding Package. If they enroll, then you make $1,000 each time they do. Now, take, again, Oscar this evening. He's got 14 or 15 people. We naively maybe anticipate that he'll probably enroll 10 of them. So he'll make $10,000 tomorrow. But if we just have a goal of educating one person a day, that's where we set these very meager goals. All right, Alfred's asking about the client satisfaction, and you're right, Alfred, we want to focus on complete satisfaction. So if we spend any time at all looking at what the Startup Business Funding Package includes, there's no risk of a client being dissatisfied. It's expressly stated, we'll do everything that we say that we'll do. We're going to essentially help them become credible by addressing these learning objectives. So I share that concern with you, Alfred. We want 100% satisfied clients. And we want you to be satisfied. And that is based around you getting the daily deposits. All right, well, Sarah brings up a point that's not much money, but I think it all depends upon your frame of reference. For a lot of people, earning an extra $1,000 a day is a big deal. That's an extra plus or minus $30,000 a month. For some people that earn a lot of income, like a lot of you, maybe an extra $30,000 a month isn't that big of a deal. But this is not some business opportunity. You don't have to spend any money to participate in the opportunity fund. You don't have to buy anything. It's a great deal. It's a great deal. Anyone else have any questions or observations on the opportunity fund? All right. Well, I encourage you all to consider how the opportunity fund could help any of your clients or your prospects when you're out talking to small business owners and you start to realize that there's either a void of knowledge or a void of positioning. That's where this comes into play, right? If you run into small business owners that don't have a unique business address, we should help them fix that because that's going to make them more fundable. If you run into small business owners that don't have established business credit and they want funding, you and I can help them with that. If you run into small business owners that either don't have financials at all or have financials that do not demonstrate liquidity, solvency, and collateral, you and I can help them with that because these are the crucial, you see the word over and over, crucial. These are the crucial elements necessary to get business funding. We don't get business funding by just wanting funding. We don't get business funding by just demanding funding. We get business funding based upon being qualified, by being credible on paper. And that's exactly what we teach people, how to get your business credible on paper. And oh, by the way, did you know that there's a startup grant that funds key elements of the startup business funding package to help them? All right, Faith had asked about a W-9. Yes, so we will send out, if you're wanting to participate in the Opportunity Fund, we will send you an Adobe that is a W-9, and which is required by the IRS, and for the payment instructions so we can wire over your daily deposits. So that's why you received it, Faith. All right, if there's any questions, let us know, but this is a real, I want to say easy. It's fun, it's needed in helping solve a problem. And so it really helps in closing solve two problems. Number one, if you have small business owners that just simply don't have borrowing capacity due to credit or cash flow reasons, they can plug into the Opportunity Fund. And then secondly, of course, you can do that as well. If an extra $1,000 a day would be valuable to you, your business, your family, this is how we go about doing it. It's not hard. There's no selling, there's no convincing, there's no billing, there's no collections. It's simple. It's simple and very much needed. All right. Thank you so much. Let us know if there's any questions you have, and we'll help you. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.